Welcome to CINEPRO, where we bring your favorite movies back to life with quick recaps, hidden details, and everything you missed. The movie begins with a Japanese man wearing colorful pajamas in an empty room without doors or windows. When he approaches the wall to explore the place, he notices something strange emerging from the wall. He tries to figure out what it is until he presses on the head. Suddenly, tiny smiling angels appear from the walls and floor. They linger for a few seconds before disappearing again, but as they vanish, part of their bodies gets stuck in the wall, forming button-like shapes. The walls become filled with buttons, each triggering something different. This phase is called the attachment phase. The man touches the strange-looking button and screams in fear, calling for help, but no one responds. He decides to experiment with the buttons to see what happens. Every time he presses a button, something random appears in the room, from a toothbrush to a large vase and many other items. Pressing the same button produces the same object, leading him to realize that each button corresponds to a specific item. As he experiments, he presses a button that releases a small car from the wall, hitting his leg. Another button sprays gas in his face. After hours of pressing buttons and gathering random items in the room, he throws a ball that accidentally hits a button, delivering sushi, which excites him as he was starving. However, while eating, he realizes he needs soy sauce for the sushi. He asks whoever trapped him for the sauce, but as usual, no response. Frustrated, he keeps pressing buttons until he ends up with 3 kilograms of sushi, but still no sauce. Eventually, he gives up and starts eating the sushi, finding it delicious. After finishing, he presses another button, which finally provides the soy sauce he desperately wanted. This drives him crazy. He presses a different button, receiving a pair of 3D glasses from his school days. When he puts them on, he sees a small angel pointing to a sensitive area. Excited, he finds the right button. When he presses it, the room goes dark, and a countdown appears. Suddenly, a massive background emerges, delivering a powerful blow that knocks him unconscious. Hours later, he wakes up and experiments with buttons on the floor. One button surprises him by opening a hole in the wall. He celebrates the discovery but forgets which button opened the exit. He presses random buttons, causing an African man to emerge from one wall and disappear into another. Another button pours water on his head. Finally, he finds the exit button again and sees the door opening. He tries to run toward it, but it closes before he reaches it. On his second attempt, the same thing happens. He realizes the door stays open only while the button is pressed. He tries different methods to keep the button pressed, including shortening the distance to the door, but all attempts fail. In his last attempt, he uses the small car to push the button as he runs, but it also fails. He needs a way to keep the button pressed. He places the large vase on it, but the button pushes the vase off. He decides to fill the vase with sushi to make it heavier, as he knows the sushi button. However, the vase becomes so full that he can't move it or remove the excess sushi. He has no choice but to remove the sushi piece by piece using chopsticks. After removing enough sushi, he manages to move the vase closer to the buttons, but he forgets which button opens the exit. He presses a button, causing the African man to appear again and accidentally knock over the vase, breaking it in half. At this point, the man feels defeated. Before breaking down, he tries covering the button with sushi, but it doesn't work. He then tries using a metal sheet and glue to keep the button pressed, but nothing works. After taking painkillers to deal with the injuries caused by the blows, he rests and sleeps. When he wakes up, he wants to brush his teeth. He presses the water button but accidentally presses the wrong one, dropping a rope from the ceiling. This gives him a new idea. He opens the door and uses the rope to reach it quickly before it closes. He succeeds and passes through the door, only to find another door behind it, which is also locked. He returns to the room just in time before the door closes but gets hit by it. Frustrated, he punches the wall and accidentally presses a button, revealing a floating key in the middle of the room. But the key disappears as soon as the button is released. Now things become even harder. He needs to find a way to keep the key visible and the door open simultaneously. First, he needs to locate the key button again. As usual, he struggles to remember where his foot hit the wall. Pressing the wrong button causes a barking dog to emerge, and the same happens with his second attempt. Fortunately, his third attempt succeeds, and the key appears. Keeping his eye on the button, he marks it with a piece of sushi and presses it again. But when he does, the dog appears and startles him because he pressed the wrong button again. This time, he finds the correct button and continues his plan. He rolls the rope to reach the button, but it's too short. When he falls to the ground, he notices a clamp that appeared earlier and decides to use it. After several failed attempts, things finally start to work. Taking a deep breath, he presses the key button, grabs the key, and presses the door button. He quickly reaches the door before it closes, passing through it to find another locked door. When he opens this door, he discovers another lock requiring 3 numbers to open. The man loses his mind and returns to the room, hitting the door as it closes. In despair, he throws the clamp angrily, accidentally hitting a button on the wall. This button reveals the African man again, who has the 3 numbers needed to unlock the small lock written on his head. Since there is limited time behind the door, the man makes 3 attempts, each with 1 number, until he gathers all 3. Finally, he opens the back door, but as soon as he opens it, the room door behind him closes, leaving him trapped in a small space without enough room to continue opening the door. At this point, the man is utterly defeated. He sits on the floor, crying, reminiscing about the joy he once felt with the buttons and the random objects they provided. He was imprisoned, but at least he had space to move freely and wasn't restricted. The stage of attachment ended. Suddenly, he feels a breeze from the door to his left. As soon as he touches it, he discovers it's a fake opening. Quickly, he goes through the opening and starts running, reaching a mysterious passage suspended in the air in a dark place. He feels as if he's dead and being judged, but he keeps running. When he reaches the exit and steps out, he finds himself in another room. At that moment, his hair is longer, and the colors of his pajamas have disappeared. This room is empty too, and its door closes as soon as the man enters it. But instead of small angels, he sees large angels disappearing into the walls, with the wrong parts of their bodies also stuck in the form of buttons. This stage is called the stage of practice. The scene then takes us to Mexico City. There is a family here worried about a wrestler from their family named Escart Man, who is about to participate in a big wrestling match. Escart Man's wife believes that the wrestler he will face is younger and stronger than him, but the grandfather tells her that experience is what matters. His daughter, Karam, drives him to the wrestling arena to get him ready, change his clothes, and prepare himself. At school, Antonio, Escart Man's son, is being teased by his classmates, who call him and his father failures. Karam returns to pick up Antonio and the grandfather so they can watch the match. She drops them off, and they find seats for themselves in the back rows before the match begins. The first team enters the ring and greets the audience, followed by Escart Man and his partner entering the ring. Escart Man's partner starts the match with an excellent performance, hitting the other team, but the opponents quickly overpower him as they team up against him. They kept provoking Escart Man to enter the ring so they could attack him, but he refused. His partner then used a trick to make the other team hit each other, giving him the chance to escape and tag Escart Man into the match. They are about to slam Escart Man onto the chair. In the magical room, the man presses a button, causing Escart Man to extend his neck magically and strike the opponents with his head. In the room, nothing happens to the man, prompting him to press another button. This causes Escart Man to wreak havoc, attacking his partner, the referee, and even the child, as well as the bell. Since there are no results, the man continues experimenting with different buttons, but each button causes something to happen in real life. One button makes a metal band singer breathe fire on the audience at a concert in Los Angeles. Another causes a Russian magician to fail a trick while attempting to make his assistant disappear. A third makes a Chinese man bark at his dogs. The man is on the verge of giving up when he sees a light coming from above. He notices that this room has no ceiling, unlike the previous room, and sees angels flying above. This time, he decides to try a new idea. Instead of pressing the strange buttons, he uses them to climb the wall. The plan works well, but every time he presses a button with his hand or foot, something strange happens in the natural world. Animals fall, flowers bloom, an elephant dies. And the higher he climbs, the greater the impact on nature, humans, and animals. By the time he reaches the top, the man feels his hair has grown longer. He no longer needs to hold onto the buttons or the wall. He finds he can fly like the angels. Using all the experiences he learned from the stages of learning and practice, he is no longer making random choices. He has gained control over his decisions. We realize that the small symbols in our lives, when we use and train with them, can make us stronger. They become a phase in our lives that leads to the next higher stage. Over time, he's surrounded by soft feathers instead of the strange wall and buttons. He enters a portal with a strong light that leads him to the final room. In the last room, in the final scene, a map of the world appears on the man's back, and in front of him is a massive button. He's about to press it, and this phase is called the future. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all new updates. See you in the next video.